perfect. It is good.
Yeah.
Now I'm able to see everybody. Hello, viewers. My name is Aditya, and I bring to you another episode. We have Utkarsh with us. Utkarsh is an alumni of IIT Kharagpur and IIM Bangalore, and he has contributed in academic research for companies like IISc and University of Michigan. He also had 8 years of working experience. He had consulting association with BCG. He worked as a program manager in ITC and Upgrad, and he is currently heading product at Hoyo. And so thank you, Utkarsh, for joining us.
Thanks, Aditya.
And we have Bhakti with us. Bhakti is an economics master's from Gargi College, Delhi University. She is currently working as trade policy officer at British High Commission. She also happens to be a YouTuber and owns a dance channel. And some other achievements of her are that she has been in research at IIFT and policy advocate at Lok Sabha. So welcome, Bhakti. Welcome to our show. How are you?
Thank you so much, Aditya.
Yeah. So I'll start with the very basics, Utkarsh. So, you have been into IIT and we will just talk about that. So foreign internship in IIT is a very big thing. I have tried a lot and I didn't manage to get into that, but yeah, it's a big thing. And you were in a FT at University of Michigan. So can you tell us what was the whole preparation process and how were you able to secure an FT at University of Michigan? Can you throw some lights on your preparation at IIT Kharagpur towards building this profile and some light on your IISc internship as well?
Sure, I'll start with the IISc part because that happened earlier. I mean, I applied to a fellowship called JNCASR. It's a very beautiful fellowship for second, third year undergraduate students. And generally, it is very difficult for second year students to get a good, meaningful internship. So I was lucky in that way that at least I got this JNCSR fellowship. There's a form which is floated by JNCSR and you need to apply for it. So yeah, that's how I went to IISc. And, you need to apply in around October to November in your undergrad year when you are going, and you need to seek certain recommendations, and of course you need to have a certain academic criteria, which I am not aware about what is that lower limit in CGPA. But yeah, anyway, so that's the way forward for applying to IISc. Great internship, great time I had there. Help me understand the entire process about academic research. Now coming to the foreign training part, frankly, I did not have any formula or any process to apply. A lot of my seniors used to tell that, every day you wake up, start mailing professors, mail to 100 professors every day at a particular time of the day, like optimize to when the professor opens his inbox, right? And do this for around 3 months, and there's a probability that you will get an internship. So, but I believe that it's pretty childish, right? I'm sure some people would have got by that method. Frankly, it was a fluke for me. I was looking for an internship in a company, and no company took me. And then I realized that I don't have many options. I just on one fine day I mailed Professor Scott Fogler, who had written a book of chemical engineering, which I was studying. It was a fluke, frankly. Just emailed the person, and he was happy to take me. Again, no particular formula. Just apply to people you really like. Maybe someone will be interested in what you have to say, and they will take you. That's pretty much it.
Any sort of formula as to...
That's a very lucky fluke over there. Just email.
Yeah, absolutely.
So any sort of formula as to how your profile should be aligned with the kind of research that professor is doing, or any formula on the recommendations, should it be from the professors or any industry expert, or any views on that?
So it's important to have a good CGPA if you are going for applying for research internships. Mine was probably in the top 2 in my department when I was applying, so I think that helped. But that's not a necessity. I have seen people, in the bottom 25 percentile of the class securing a great for an internship. I think I would say that they had that passion for research, and they were totally focused on that aspect of research in their course in which this professor would have been working. So that might have helped them. Yeah, there's no formula. I'm sure like people who can focus on what they're doing that and build their profile accordingly helps.
Okay. And what was the research into? Like, what is the topic there at a university?
Topic was mathematical modeling of wax deposition in oil gas pipelines. Like how it's a branch of chemical engineering to model, mass flow and heat flow, right? So we use certain mathematical equations to model this whole phenomena. Yeah, that was the topic as far as I remember.
That's very interesting how you mentioned how you did mathematical modeling of something that is in chemical engineering. But such modeling usually requires a lot of, technique on softwares. So
Yes.
did you have like prior experience? Perhaps you must have worked very hard with your softwares in order to be able to do that research internship. Could you also talk about your preps in that regard?
Yeah, I was supposed to have a level of proficiency in MATLAB, but I was a beginner. I was a noob in MATLAB, so I don't know. I mean, somehow I survived those internship days. So I'm sure, like, you are supposed to be at a proficient level when you are applying for those interns. I could not, get that mastery on those skill sets. So yeah, I just was a noob that time.
I take it you're very modest in life.
Not really, but yeah, in this case, that's the honest answer.
Alright. So another thing, ITC is like a dream company. I mean, you would find that
Sure.
it's like a day zero or even a -1 kind of a firm. So now,
Yeah.
what was the whole selection process in ITC like? Can you talk about that in detail? And perhaps
Yes.
how you can shed some light about how someone in IIT or B schools, they can prepare for such roles?
Yeah, sure. So ITC is special in terms of their selection process. They have a pretty unique selection process, which generally people, someone who has gone through the process and cleared it out, and I stayed there for 3 years. So seeing it from the back end, also I understood that the process is slightly special compared to other companies. Other companies also float a form, an application form. ITC also does the same, but ITC gives a huge weightage in terms of what you write on that form, right? They ask open-ended questions like, tell us a time when you showed mind over matter, right? And, if you are applying for a company like ITC, you should really take this form seriously. That's what I realized. Frankly, when I was, applying to my placements, I had no shortlist in any other company except ITC. And the reason was that in a chronological order, I actually did not get any shortlist. And then I realized that, okay, I need to prepare for at least one company properly. So for the last 21 days before the placement, I actually just I used to open that form and thought that what should I write which is better than others, right? Because I was not getting any shortlist. I had a lot of time because, in your final year, when you're sitting for placement, there's nothing else to do, right? So yeah, I just used to open that form every day in the morning and used to write like, how can my answer be better than others? Because my resume is not cutting it for companies, right? I was not getting any shortlist. So I just used to, just reiterate. And probably that form did it well because they really liked my answers. Also focused on group discussions and, I practiced the group discussion because there's a group discussion round after you're selected or shortlisted for the form. Then you go through the group discussion round, and then there are 2-3 rounds of interviews, right? So that's the entire process. So of course you have to be good in your communication skills. Many college students actually do not take their communication skills, their group discussion skills seriously. I was one of them. I did not take my communication skills seriously, but in the last 1 week, I really like a madman prepared for all those group discussions with my friends. That really helped me in cracking that group discussion as well. And yeah, I mean, after that, there were 2-3 rounds of interviews. Those interview rounds were probably very special for me because no amount of preparation actually prepares you for that interview rounds. There were pretty open-ended questions on integrity, honesty, leadership, and the answer should be very genuine. When you speak genuine answers and when you speak honestly, probably that is what they're looking for. They're not looking for any particular perfect answer. They're looking for genuineness, and if you can structure your thoughts properly, and are you reasonable? Are you having a thought process behind what you're saying? So all of this really helped me, and that was the reason I was able to crack that interview.
Wow.
Can you, Utkarsh, just for the viewers to get an idea about how rigorous the process was, the intake of IIT Kharagpur is now it's 1,500 in one batch. So can you talk about that funnel, like out of how many applicants, how many got shortlisted through that essay, then what percentage got into GD, then finally what percentage to interview, and then the final shortlist?
I think it's around 10 years back, which I'm recalling, but I recall the numbers pretty well. I think 600 some people would have applied to the process. They would have shortlisted around 100 people for the group discussion. After that, they would have shortlisted 28 people for the interviews. And after that, they selected 5 or 6 people on that.
Brilliant. Brilliant. So viewers, you can see how rigorous these processes are, especially when the companies are day 0 or D-1. So it's a whole nother ball game. So yeah, Utkarsh, actually thanks for guiding us through the placement process. Moving on to the timeline of when you finally made into ITC, you started working in ITC. You were handling diverse areas, including manufacturing capacity planning and addition, line automation and farm mechanization, etc. at ITC. As for my interaction with you, this much I can recall. So can you talk deeply how work at ITC looks like, day-to-day work, or the types of projects that you handled in the past 3-4 years at ITC?
Sure. So again, ITC treats the undergraduate intake engineers. By the way, they take engineers on a management profile. Unlike other companies, they are at par with the management B school candidates. So the profile is same for both of them, and even the pay is same for both people from engineering schools as well as from B schools. So and even the work is kind of special because it's not it's engineering come leadership role, right? So the managers are supposed to handle both parts. It's not hi-fi engineering; it's very simple engineering, but a lot of leadership is there in the scope of the work, right? And you start with a very small project like reconfiguration of an office space, right? That was my first project. Like, how do you reconfigure the office space on the first floor of the headquarters? And I used to believe, like, what is this? I mean, I have completed my IIT, and I'm just what the hell am I doing here? And that is the kind of project everyone starts with on this management trainee profile. But what it teaches you is stakeholder management at a very different level, which any one of us generally do in a college, right? So you get to understand how to manage lots of stakeholders. How do you communicate with them? How do you manage a project? How do you keep everyone aligned, right? So that was my learning, and then I moved to capex projects for renovation of a manufacturing line, creating a new manufacturing line, right from the start of it. Like, you start the whole creation on a piece of paper. You get designers, then you get the budget approved from your divisional management committee, and finally you put the whole execution on place. So ITC as a profile is great in terms of giving you execution-based learning, right? Like that is what folks who come out of ITC after 3 to 4 years are generally, talked about in the industry also, because their operational excellence is great. Also, execution and leadership part way also it is good. You handle a lot of large teams, so you were able to sharpen up your team management skills as well. So that was my key takeaway from ITC experience. One other bit about ITC experience, which I think folks who are applying should know is that, you get to live in very different parts of India. Generally, jobs are in metros, but when you join in ITC, you may be posted in Haridwar or Munger in Bihar or Guntur in Andhra Pradesh. So that's also a very different stint compared to other jobs in B school or engineering college.
And that is the case for both IIT recruits or IIM or any other B school recruits.
Yes,
it doesn't matter.
Okay. Yeah, it doesn't matter, and they are very proud about that. That we help you understand India, and we can send you in any part of India, right? So yeah, I mean, initially it looks awkward, but you then learn something new, which is quite unique compared to other candidates who apply to various jobs.
Yeah, that's pretty much in resonance with what these B schools also have to offer. If I talk about international B schools as well, and now it's adopted in India too, the rural immersion module, which you might be aware of. So these B schools also promote their candidates to go, get their hands dirty, go to the villages, and then learn, the aspects.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, well, another feather in your hat, you had another dream consulting internship at IIM in Boston Consultancy Group, BCG. Now, how did you make your profile in a way that the B school was desirable? They were looking at you as a proper candidate. Could you help us with telling us that what all small nuances were there in your application which helped you get such an internship? Perhaps you can guide others about how your experience over there was like.
You're talking about the stint in the consulting group, right?
Yes.
Yeah,
the summer internship.
Yeah, my summer internship. So the selection process is quite well known in IIMs, and everyone who goes to an IIM understands that it's an entire book. I have seen people writing books on the selection process and how do you crack that, right? I can share that book as well. I mean, no worries on that. But anyway, so just to keep it short, you first make your resume, and the whole your resume making skills reach another level when you are applying to a consulting job, right? Like people spend around 1 to 2 months every day, 1 hour, knocking on seniors' doors, showcasing their resume to lots of seniors, and then understanding how do you get that perfect balance in terms of CGPA, extra CAD, and that extra kink on the resume. Thing I definitely I can tell from my experience is that if you really are not good in academics, and by good I mean someone having 90% in their university, it's pretty difficult. I mean, I'm not saying it's almost impossible, but pretty difficult to get into consulting in terms of the internship bit. Like you have to come with when you are coming to a college, because in the first semester of your college in B school, you don't get your marks also when you are applying for the internship. So you have to have very good marks in the previous college from which you are coming, right? So that is a bummer. That is the problem. And of course, like if you are a great poet, you are published, or you participated in some kind of great sports events, if you are a great sportsman. So all these things do come in play. A great profile in terms of extracurriculars is a plus, but generally it is seen that good marks is important if you have to crack the consulting interview.
Okay, Utkarsh, you mentioned about extracurriculars. So can you tell us in IIM Bangalore or IIT Kharagpur, what all sort of extracurriculars helped you in building your profile in whichever forms you have been shortlisted, ITC or BCG? So
I think my extracurriculars was not great in IIT Kharagpur. I mean, I did take part in inter-hall hockey team, was good in tech events which used to happen in our inter-hall competitions like product design or case study competitions. And some competitions on chemical engineering which used to happen. I'm sure that I was not selected in ITC on any with any regards to my extracurricular, but yeah, I had some things which I had filled in there. I'm not proud of it, and I advise all college goers to have some keen interest in extracurricular activities apart from your academics. Not just because you have to get a great job, but because that is the time when you can, apply yourself to other things. So yeah, I mean, I did not have a great extracurricular profile in IIT Kharagpur, but probably my CGPA and my interview did help me crack the whole process. When I went to IIM, I think they were not so much focused on extracurricular. I'm sure my ITC work experience really helped me in getting those brownie points when I was getting selected for the consulting interviews.
So can you tell us what was the work like at BCG? What did they ask you to do as an intern, as a summer associate, and what sort of projects were you into?
Sure. So before that, I just wanted to take a step back and talk about the selection process as well. So we discussed about the resume making process. But then what happens is that when you send your resume, somehow you are not like the big four consulting firms are really to be fought for. I mean, everyone tries to get into one of those big four consulting firms, and then there is this buddy process where you are allocated a buddy by every firm, and they try to help you in your brushing up your case study, problem solving skill sets, and then you go there and they give you 2-3 caselets and you have to solve that. That's a pretty intense process, and I do advise. I mean, if you are going for a B school, or people should be aware about the case study approach and how do you solve cases. I'm sure in my times there was not much awareness when I was in IIT Kharagpur. I'm sure now people are very aware in engineering schools as well that we should understand how cases are solved, guesstimates are solved. Nowadays, many companies are also recruiting folks in engineering schools through caselets and guesstimates. So yeah, I mean, my advice is to definitely brush them up before even going to a B school in your engineering college itself, because that helps. So yeah, I mean, that is important to brush up your case study problem solving methodologies. Yeah, my cases were not that intense, but the whole practice which we do, and by the way, buddies are generally judging you on your case study solving approaches. That's something which you're not supposed to tell in the open, but that's how it is. And you also get it's a 360-degree feedback kind of a place where your seniors, PGP 2s are judging you so there's an entire whole approach. Like before you get into a consulting firm, there is a whole 360-degree feedback which is provided about you by the buddies, by your seniors, and it's not just the interview which happens. So I hope that is important to understand. So yeah, it's a continuous judgment process before you get inside a consulting firm. So coming to your question of what did you do in the whole stint, in summer stint, I think that was a very organized way in which my company in which I interned had organized the whole process. There was the first 2-3 days were all about workshops on how do you make great presentations, how do you tell a good story, how do you talk to the client, how do you present yourself to the client, and then you go through the whole 2-month journey of getting a small problem on which you can work and help the client and impress your boss as well. Yeah, and finally, I mean, the conversion ratio is very good in IIMs for getting into those roles. So probably like 90% of the people generally convert their internships. I landed in the last 10%, by the way.
Oh my God. Okay. But I'm pretty sure the learning process is so enriching. When you are at BCG or any big four, talk about McKinsey or Bain, any of these firms. So I'm sure that itself is a very, very great value add in the profile.
No, absolutely. I mean, the whole process is so good. You learn a lot. But what I wanted to talk about is that, not everybody is made for consulting, and while everybody, like everyone is running after those consulting jobs, sometimes you need to understand and appreciate that probably you are better suited for other roles, right? So just because you have a great profile and everybody says that you should go in consulting doesn't mean you should go in consulting. That was my takeaway from the whole thing.
Yes, I totally plus one on that, Utkarsh, because I have also been talking to a lot of folks. Even I come from a consulting background. And in MBA, there is a hype. That's what I have observed. There is a hype that consulting firms are the dream organizations and the best roles. And if you are not, so somehow there is a pressure that that's being inflicted upon the candidates, even if they are not made for consulting. They are asked to run for consulting roles, and seeing talking to people who are working as consultants, the day-to-day life is really challenging. And a lot of people have moved out because of that, because they realize that, okay, maybe program management or product management is what I can contribute my maximum.
Correct.
So can you tell us?
Yeah. So just to complete, consulting is a great profile. I know a lot of folks who really enjoy doing what they do. But again, I mean, you have to decide for yourself that you want to do that or you don't want to do that. And doesn't matter what others say. You should take up a call for yourself if you really want to do that. Yeah, and trying an internship really helps because you get to understand what consultants do. So yeah, definitely. I mean, you can try and go there and see for 2 months and then decide. Yeah, sure. Please go ahead.
So that 2 months was the deciding factor for you that, okay, should I get into consulting or not? Because I'm sure your profile is best suited, like well crafted for a consulting firm. But yeah, you actually made up your mind whether you want to take it up in your life or not.
Yeah, for me it was a slightly long-term process. I did understand probably that I should maybe rethink on my. Actually, I was never. To be frank, I was never passionate about consulting. I just came to the B school and I got into that, mindset that everyone is applying for consulting jobs. Let me apply. Let me get out of this process ASAP. But yeah, I mean, going through that whole journey of my internship, and I probably came closer to the realization that I'm not a consulting guy. I should try for other stuff. But then also that that whole idea had not gone out of me. I still applied for consulting jobs in my placements as well, and I went and I got into another consulting firm, which you would not have seen on my LinkedIn profile. And then I worked for another consulting firm for 2 months after my MBA, before realizing that I should not be in consulting.
Utkarsh, this question is more towards the consulting angle. There are a lot of people who, when they want to enter into an MBA college, they aspire for consulting roles. And as you said, some people got pushed to pursue that as a career because it's been shown as the #1 recruiter, the dream roles, the dream organizations, all from the consulting background. So what do you have to say to the people who are planning to move into consulting? What sort of things that they should keep in mind? The top 3 or 4 things that needs to be considered. Can you throw some light?
Sure. Yeah, sure. So the first thing is you should be aware about, are you a generalist or do you aspire to be a specialist, right? Like if you want to, play with a lot of things, understand about a lot of sectors, and, play in that bit. Is that the case? Or you want to focus on one sector or one problem which you want to solve, right? For me, I realized later that I'm very passionate about technology, passionate about healthcare and education. And I really want to do good in that rather than, explore a lot of sectors. So I think that is one area which people should really think about, that are you willing to focus on a lot of things at the same time and play with a lot of things, or you want to focus on one thing, right? That's the #1 criteria. Second is the culture, right? The consulting firms are known for a competitive culture, right? Like people, if you go there, you will meet type A personalities, right? And you will meet a lot of competitive folks. So you need to be aware about your own personality type. Are you a collaborative person? You want to work in a team, or you want to, are you an individual contributor, and you want to, contribute individually and if you're that kind of person, then consulting will suit you. If you're a person who wants to work in a team and a lot of people working on the same problem hand in hand, right? If you're that kind of person, then consulting may not suit you, right? So that's the second criteria. Third criteria would be that do you like that high flying, high fly jet set kind of lifestyle, or you want to be in one place? So that I think is a big criteria which people don't, people underestimate that problem. But when you start living that life where, you have, for 4 or 5 days, you have to be in another city, and every 1 month your city changes, and and only for the weekends you're coming back to a place which you call home. After 6 months, when you do this, probably it's not for everyone, right? So these are the top 3 things which I would advise anyone to, focus on. But clearly, consulting is not for everyone. I know that like 30% of the batch goes in consulting, and a lot of people, like 50% of people, would generally come out of it in the first 2 years itself, knowing that probably they were not suited for that.
Yeah.
So why make a choice which you don't feel like after 1 to 2 years, right? So I think some awareness is really required if people are really, wanting to be in consulting or not. Yeah.
Very true. I remember my interaction with one of a McKinsey consultant, and he told us that 50% of the people leave consulting after 2 years of the job. The first 2 years, they leave. 50% of the people move out. So that's a very that actually demands somebody to introspect whether they actually are consulting made or not. Can you also talk about how consulting is different to a non-consulting firm, non-consulting role, in terms of stakeholder management or in terms of project approach? How a consulting thing is different from a non-consulting?
Sure, a great question. One thing is for sure that, in consulting, even though now consulting has moved towards execution-oriented projects. Earlier, consulting was all about creating a vision map or creating a 10-year plan, 5-year plan for the organization. Moved into execution as well. Now, consulting projects, from my own experience, I'm saying that, consulting projects have become longer, about 2-3 year transformation. But as a consultant, you take a very short-term responsibility of what you're doing. I'm not criticizing consulting here. I'm just saying that the kind of mindset which you need in consulting is very different from what you need in an operator kind of role where you're executing things for a company, right? There you have to take more long-term responsibility of what you're delivering. In consulting, you have to take short-term responsibility of what you're delivering, but you have to be brilliant in problem solving. So the pace of problem solving, you need a lot faster in consulting. The responsibility bit is slightly lower. In working in an organization, the pace of problem solving, you may take a lot of time in solving that problem, but you really need to take ownership. You need to lead that problem solving for a long time, right? So the impact of that is a very long time process. So that is a difference, right? So yeah, happy to add anything if you feel like.
Totally agree, Utkarsh. I think that was very enlightening. People should know about these things when they are trying to make a decision whether to go into consulting or not. It's not only about talent or your CGPA or your extracurriculars. Are you actually made for that? That is the first question that you have to ask yourself. Yeah.
Absolutely. And sure, the B-School environment makes you feel like a loser if you don't get into consulting firm, right? So people take it as their ego that they are not getting into consulting firm, but in the long term, you will be better off if you are able to decide if you are made up for that or not, right? And world does not end if you don't end in a consulting firm. There are pretty good roles outside it as well. That's my key message, if I can give one for this discussion.
Thank you, Utkarsh, for sharing all these details. That is actually very useful for the MBA folks. Utkarsh, you got into program management after IIM Bangalore in Upgrad and also Center of Artificial Intelligence at IIT Kharagpur, where you also had a program management stint. So what were the major type of work that were there in program management? And can you throw some light on the startup type working in Upgrad?
Sure. So first of all, about program management. Program management is a more complicated version of project management. In project management, you are working on one project, while a program is a summation of multiple projects which you are working on together, right? So it's a transition. If you are good in project management, generally you transition and become a program manager, right? And the kind of work which you do in program management, it's pretty interesting, and probably not much of stress is given in B schools in terms of jobs. But the job in general is about taking one program as part of a business, right? And that program can be anything. That program can be about revenue improvement or cost reduction, or taking running up with one piece of revenue and generating a category, right? Like you can take up one revenue stream and lead all kinds of stakeholders there, manage all kinds of stakeholders there to finally grow up that revenue stream. So that was my role at Upgrad. My role at Upgrad was about there was one educational stream. Upgrad, as you know, is an edutech firm which is focused on launching various kinds of revenue streams for themselves and various kinds of programs for students, right? So I was managing one program for them where I had to align myself and manage the P&L, the marketing, the sales bit, as well as various kind of operations which happen in the back end, right? So so you have to ensure that you manage the budget, the timeline, and also help in getting the kind of output which the organization is wanting to get, right? So so this is all about program management. What was my experience in Upgrad or as a startup was, it was really good because I have been earlier, I was working with organizations which were very set up, right? Like they were already there. ITC is a 100-year-old organization, and my stints with BCG and Alvarez, where I worked as a consultant for some period of time, these also had pretty much set up processes, right? But for Upgrad, it was a 1.5 years old organization when I joined them, and everything was on one floor, and the average age of people who work is also very different. I mean, that time it was very different. Average age was 24, 25 when I joined at Upgrad, and when you join in consulting firms or even in ITC, you are the youngest person, right? So it's very, very different kind of experience. And yeah, I mean, I totally recommend at least 6 months to 1 year startup experience to folks because it helps you to get yourself in a very different zone where you have to lead, where your word has you have the final word, and you have to think very clearly before you are going to decide on something. So decisions are very important, and your decision has value, and it is not academic, it's very practical. So you have to think a lot before you are deciding and executing something, right? So that was the stint at Upgrad. Yeah.
Correct.
Great. Now, here is a very interesting section and my personal favorite. So you co-founded a company.
Yeah.
So can you tell us what are the major challenges you faced, and was it parallel to your corporate work? Because many of my budding entrepreneur friends actually face this issue, balancing your corporate life along with your own personal projects and business. So how did you tackle it?
So yeah, I think it's a great question, and frankly, I mean, I'm still learning, and my company is just something which is growing up in a very nascent stage. But yeah, I mean, what I did learn is that first of all, why someone will co-found a company when they have to still go on their job is because sometimes you don't have the luxury to set up your own company in a full-time environment, because you need the cash flow running for your finances as well, right? So when you are doing that, what I realized is that the focus in general, I mean, I'm just talking about my own personal experience. I can't comment for others. But what I realized is that sometimes you should not focus on investments, right? Like there's a lot of hue and cry about the XYZ company getting some investment, and a lot of you can only start something when you have investment, right? So what we do at our own startup is more, we are more focused on getting customers and getting some revenue out of it, right? And just building it over, improving our revenue rather than focusing on investment. So we are a bootstrap company, and we just want to grow it year on year at a very slow pace, frankly. I mean, we know that the kind of space we are in, we will not get, because that's not a hot space to be in. So we are happy to grow at very small rate compared to others. Like everybody wants to grow at 100%. We're happy growing at 5 to 10% year on year. So yeah, I mean that's the whole idea, that you don't always need investment to start something. You can start something on your own, even with your corporate job. And if you are really focused on your customers rather than on the investors, probably you can grow a firm in a more disciplined manner. That's my learning. I mean, I haven't I've read this in a in an article. I mean, I realized it the hard way, that we tried getting investment, we tried getting investors, we got rejected so many times, and we're still getting rejected, by the way. So what we realize is the best way is to focus on your customer, get some customers, get some money out of it, and grow it the old way, right? So yeah, that's the whole idea behind it.
And now that you're talking about customers and keeping them as the, making customer your best friend, now we can understand, why you got into product management afterwards.
Yeah.
Because,
yeah, sure.
That's another, they treat customers as, the person and, the most important stakeholder in the business.
Yeah.
Can you talk about your startup? Can you throw some more light on what it is about, and what exactly do you do there?
So we are a startup which is focused on healthcare, and as Eximius Health, we are focusing on healthcare consulting. In India right now, I mean, what we have understood is that big four consulting firms or whatever established players are in general not focused. I mean, that's our experience, that in Indian stakeholders, Indian healthcare pre-COVID days was not something which was talked about, and people say that a lot. It's not a money spinner for consulting firms, right? So we are just focused on healthcare startups, providing digital marketing solutions to healthcare startups, or content marketing solutions to healthcare startups, or we have providing operational excellence to various healthcare firms. That's the basic idea. And I mean, we have been around 2 to 3 years now working in this with my co-founder. So yeah,
oh, that's pretty interesting. Do let us know in case you need interns or any new recruits. Why not? We will probably see how people, because a lot of people might be looking for internship opportunities at startups. So I think that would be a great. Yeah. So Utkarsh, moving on to the next transition. Let's talk about the transition from ops or program management to a product management role. So how you got a call for it? Because you have a profile of a program manager, or somebody who is in ops companies like ITC and BCG and other upgrade stints that you had. So what all they looked for in your profile when you were applying for product management role? Also, hospitality sector. I'm now talking about OYO. So hospitality sector is the biggest impacted due to COVID. So what are some of the major challenges currently, and how you are coping up with it, being in the product, heading the product of OYO?
So yeah, I mean, the transition from program to product management happened because I aspired for it. I wanted to be into product for some time, and the way I went about it is that firstly I wanted to be in the technology team of an organization, and I moved into a program manager role in the tech team. Generally, people move into P&L, sales, revenue side of it, but I was very conscious about making a choice to move into the tech side of things in a very ops/program management role, and executing a couple of projects there. I mean, I did kept on talking about how do I move to product management to my seniors in product, right? And as soon as the opening arrived, and I took up that opportunity and have been making the best use of it to be in product, right? So yeah, I mean, there is no quick answer to it. If you really aspire to be in product management, and this I was talking to a junior of mine from KGP as well a couple of days back, is that there is no hack, there is no structured process to it. You have to hack it, right? So you have to really find a jugaad. You really have to be there hustle for it, right? So that's the word. So you have to keep, finding that opening, and I can also. It is good. It is easy for people who are, having a coding background, or someone who, is into tech initially. But for folks who are not in tech and come from the business side of things, it is a slightly difficult affair. But whatever little I have seen of things, what I have realized is that, if you keep hustling for it, if you keep finding that opportunity, if you keep trying it, right, you will get there. So that's my learning here. Apart from that, your next question was on hospitality sector, and what I think are the challenges about hospitality. I mean, surely, I mean, it's pretty difficult to say how long this, COVID created bump will be there. But yeah, I mean, everyone is now focused on costs and creating great products to reduce the cost and help the business recover efficiencies. Because earlier, generally, the focus is on revenue, right? Like, get as much revenue as possible, and the cost side of things are not focused much. But when post-COVID, everybody is focusing on cost, how we can reduce the cost, right? And product plays a great role there. So, how can you automate it better? How can you get that 1 to 2% extra reduction in cost? That is the way forward here. I mean, for all organizations, especially in hospitality.
Correct. And what do you think were the overlaps in consulting, product management, and program management? What do you think actually helped when you are now in product management? What sort of things? What sort are the takeaways from program management and your consulting experience?
I think communication plays a great role. Everyone in all three roles which I have been into, I've realized that you need to always learn how to be a good communicator, economic with words, and help everyone be on the same page at the same time, right? Aligning multiple stakeholders together, either it be consulting, program management, or product management. You really have to do that well in all these streams. That's one. Second, of course, you should have both sides of the coin, right? Like you should be ready to execute. Execution orientation and bias towards action should be high. But at the same time, you should have a strategic and long-term thought process as well. Like both, you need a balance of both, right? Otherwise, in all these three roles, you cannot survive or grow for long. So yeah, I mean, these are the three factors which I feel are important.
Correct. And we also discussed a lot about the education system. So we talked about IIT, we talked about IIM system. What sort of culture that they create when people actually aspire for certain things. And you being an alumnus of IIT Kharagpur as well as IIM Bangalore, so I wanted to understand your recommendations in how this IIM, the entire MBA thing, how they should sort of bring in some couple of changes that is required when people are sitting for placements or trying to do internships. What are areas of improvement do you think it is? Because your views will matter, because you have seen it all. You have been in the system, been there, done that. So.
Right. I think, see, it's a very complicated problem to solve, and you can't blame any university for what kind of placements are happening or what can they do, because I think it starts from the mindset of the student, right? So every student, when he or she comes and joins an IIM or even an IIT, the idea is that the dependency on the institution is so high to get a good job, right? That is where the problem starts. Every time what I felt in my stint at IIM, and now also I feel, is that we are so dependent as a student to get good placements from any university. And that is a big problem, because that's a problem which is slightly unique to India, right? Like these schools in US, they don't guarantee jobs, or they don't even guarantee internships, right? You are supposed to find your own job and your own internship. And that's the whole process. In India, we are so dependent on our institution. Like, if the placements don't happen, well, it's the fault of the IIT, it's the fault of the IIM, it's the fault of my university. It's never my fault, right? So that is very important. Like, somehow we need to build that culture into our students, that, you need to find your own job, right? you come here for learning. I mean, if you get a good job, that's a plus. But don't depend on the institution. And especially in these scenarios where automation is coming up and job profiles are changing so fastly that you can't predict what new job will come up in the next 5 years. You really have to take a lot of responsibility for yourself and not be dependent on your university to give you the best job, right? uh, Very difficult answer actually, but if you reflect on your own experience, or any student reflects on their own experience, they will also come to the same answer, I think. Yeah.
Rightly said. I can agree with every word now.
Sure.
So Bhakti has question on the takeaways, right? Bhakti, you can go ahead.
So my key question is, what are the takeaways that you have for all the kids and, budding, not just kids, because, you've co-founded a company too. So budding entrepreneurs who are managing their corporate life as well as their business, especially during the time of COVID when everything is so uncertain. So could you shed some light on that?
Sure. I mean, for the teenagers and for the budding students, I mean, I think there I am slightly qualified to give an advice. Otherwise, I'm still a fledgling entrepreneur, so I don't know what else advice I can give to other entrepreneurs, right? So, yeah, for teens and for college goers, I think, yeah, I mean, competition is overrated. Don't follow competition, and follow your own conviction. I think these are not just words. I really believe, and whatever good has happened in my life, in my professional life, has happened only because of that. When I was somehow not following competition, when I was somehow not following what everyone else was doing. Whenever I have followed competition, whenever I have personally been very competitive, I have never emerged as a winner. So I have realized that if you can find your own niches and if you can find your own convictions, that probably will help everyone, help you to become better and more happier actually in your life. So that's the succinct advice which I can give. Yeah.
And parting advice to the MBA community and the B school freshers who are aspiring for these consulting and product management, program management roles. What do you have, to couple of lines
Right.
for them?
Sure. I mean, one more thing is that you don't know which designation is going to come up, which new role is coming up. I think instead of focusing on the past and saying that XYZ roles are great, why not focus on the future and find out which new roles are coming up, and maybe you can ready yourself for that future role rather than just focusing on the traditional roles, right? Because I'm very sure that 4 or 5 years down the line, there's a new role coming up who nobody else thought about, right? So yeah, that is the whole game here.
Correct. And how do you think the industry is shaping up? 2020 has been a roller coaster year, in every sector. So how do you think, after, let's say, when people sit for placements, maybe in March or February, so which all are these sectors, which are high growing and the roles which are high in demand, since you have a diverse array of experience? So what do you think are the potential booming segments?
Sure, I think tech will definitely evolve, and I really feel like people should, even in B school, should somehow learn some tech skills. We can go into another hour of debate of what these tech skills can be, but it can be related to AI or coding. I'm not very sure about that, but what will be that thing? But definitely brushing up your tech skills is really important in these times, because to be honest, ops roles will not be seen for at least for a year. I mean, that's my take. I'm not sure what will happen, but ops roles are not there simply because of all the COVID which is happening. So tech roles will definitely emerge, and people should focus on adding certain skills or some mindset for technology, some appreciation for technology. Definitely, EdTech is definitely a winner in these times. E-commerce is a winner. So yeah, I mean, for me, my key advice will be that focus on tech and tech industry rather than any other industry, because that's where right now the whole action is happening anyway.
True. Now is the era of digitization, and the entire world is on internet now. So definitely that is the industry. Cool. I think that was it from our side, Utkarsh. Thanks a lot for spending your evening with us, and I'm sure this podcast will be very enriching to the audience. You know, you talked about consulting, program management, product management, life at IIT, life at IIM, your entrepreneurship life. You know, your future recommendations. You spoke about it all. So I'm sure this will be a very enriching and very knowledgeable experience for the viewers. So thanks a lot. And for the viewers, if you like the content, do give it a thumbs up. Do share your feedback in the comment section and subscribe to our channel. Share it in your network so that your friends or your family members who are aspiring for these roles, they also find benefit out of it. So thanks for watching. Stay tuned.